This is Data Jockey, machine learning for Victorian racing, and this video explains exactly how the selections are generated. Most tipping services are trying to answer one question: which horse is going to win? I built something that asks a completely different question: which horses are going to place? And it turns out that is a fundamentally harder problem to solve well. But when you solve it, you find value that almost nobody else is looking for. Before I get into what the model does, I want to talk about why building a machine learning model for racing is genuinely difficult, because it matters for understanding why most attempts at this fail. Racing data looks abundant on the surface. Thousands of races, hundreds of variables per race, decades of history, but the reality is messier than that. The dataset is small when you account for what actually matters. Victorian racing specifically has its own patterns, its own track characteristics, its own field compositions. You cannot just use generic racing data and expect it to generalize to Victorian racing on a Saturday. The signal is noisy. Between any two starts for the same horse, the trainer might change, the jockey changes, the distance changes, the field quality changes, the track condition changes. Isolating what actually drives a horse's finishing position from all of that noise is a non-trivial feature engineering problem. And the target variable, place finishing, is not as simple as it sounds. What counts as placing in a field of 12 is different to a field of 5. The model has to be smart about how it defines success across different race conditions. These are real problems. Getting a model that generalizes well to races it has never seen, rather than just memorizing historical patterns, took a long time to get right. The model is a machine learning ensemble. That means it is not one model, it is several models working together, each looking at the problem from a different angle and combining their outputs into a single prediction. Why an ensemble? Because no single model architecture is best at everything. Some are better at capturing complex nonlinear relationships between variables. Others are better at handling tabular racing data efficiently. By combining them, the ensemble is more robust than any individual model alone. When one component is uncertain, the others provide stability. The model was trained specifically on Victorian racing results. Not national data, not international data, Victorian racing. That specificity matters. The patterns in Victorian racing, the tracks, the distances, the sectionals, typical field compositions, the way form translates across class levels, are different enough that a model trained on broader data will miss things a Victorian-specific model catches. And critically, the model was trained to predict place finishers, not winners. That sounds like a small distinction, but it changes everything about how the model is built, what it optimizes for, and what patterns it learns to recognize. A model chasing winners learns to find dominant horses. A model chasing place finishers learns something more subtle: horses that consistently get into the finish, even when they are not the most obvious selection. There are three things this model does that you will not see consistently from other tipping approaches. First, it finds roughies. Because it is not anchored to favorites and market confidence, it picks up horses that the market is undervaluing, horses sitting at long odds that the data says have a genuine place finisher profile. When those land, the return is significant. Second, it identifies open races. When the model sees a race where the favorite does not fit the place finisher profile strongly, it flags that. An open race is where the value selections really matter, and knowing which races are genuinely open before the field is assessed is a meaningful edge. Third, it continuously learns. Every Victorian race meeting, every result, feeds back into the model. It is not a static system built once and left to run. It updates, it adapts, and it gets sharper over time as more Victorian racing data comes through. I want to be clear about what this model is not, because I think managing expectations honestly is important. It does not predict winners. That is not what it was built for, and claiming otherwise would be misleading. It does not get every race right. No model does. Racing has genuine randomness, scratchings, interference, track condition changes on the day. The model is finding statistical patterns across thousands of races. On any given day, some selections will not land. That is the nature of the problem, and it does not replace your own judgment. The selections are the model's output based on historical patterns. You should always make your own informed decision before placing any bet. This channel is for entertainment. The model is a tool, not a guarantee. Every selection is tracked publicly. Every race, every result, good days and bad. No cherry-picking, no hiding the losses. You can see exactly how the model has been performing over time and make your own assessment of whether it is worth following. The track record is the only honest measure of whether any of this works. I will let it speak for itself. If you want to follow the selections, subscribe to the channel. I post tips for every Victorian race meeting, one video per race, all uploaded before race 1. Everything is completely free, and as always, for entertainment purposes only. Please make your own informed decisions and gamble responsibly. This is Data Jockey.